Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to the Real in Real Estate with Rachel Smith. I'm a realtor with RE/MAX Achievers, local in the Frederick area, and yeah, we're doing a little show, some market insights, some tips, some tricks. We're gonna do word of the week, we're gonna do a fun fact listing, just all kinds of information that I am just goo gaga to share with you. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's just jump right on into it. So we're gonna ask that you engage with us and like, comment, share, all that fun stuff. We're also gonna ask that you bear with us because this is my first time in this studio set up, so hopefully the audio is okay, the visuals are okay. We still have lighting to work on, but we want to keep rolling and stay consistent with these shows to get all that information out there. So we're doing it. We're just winging it, and we're gonna do it. So just roll with me, bear with me, all of that with me, and we'll make it happen. So let's just jump in and start off with our market stat updates. Bear with me as I get all this screen stuff up. We're gonna go ahead and switch. I'm excited. All right, so our Frederick County, currently active, 752. Guys, this went down from last week. Last week it was at 759. Our active under contract, that one went up 136 as opposed to 128 last week, and our pendings went up by 3. We are at 504 versus 501 from last week. We're also going to do some January stats too, which will be really cool. I think we're going to wait until February to be able to roll that out so we can compare the month of January from 2019 and the month of January for 2020 and kind of get a good gauge on that. Again, that's going to be Frederick County driven. So last year there were 207 closed sales in the month of January for 2019. Thus far, for January 2020 this year, we're already at 218. So I think that's pretty phenomenal that we're beating it. And I know there's going to be one more because I've at least got a closing on Friday. So we'll add to that. All right. And then I got to also just give a little bit of love to our surrounding counties. We've got Howard County. Their actives are at 449, active under contract at 76, and their pendings are 355. Montgomery County, knocking it out of the park with 1,244 that are currently active. Then their active under contracts are 431 with their pending at 823. That's stellar. Montgomery County just taking it up a notch. You know, we got to follow their lead, especially with their inventory. So then let's take it back to Carroll, my classic Carroll. Active is 423. Our active under contract is 57, and our pending is 218. So there's some room for some more listings really in all counties. There's some room for improvement. I really am wanting to see Frederick and Carroll at least step it up coming into spring market with a couple. I would like to see a couple more hundred on the market probably by May. Same with Frederick. I mean, Frederick County right now we're at 752 again. So it would be good to see something a little bit higher than that. I would like it to be in the thousands. You know, wishful thinking, but we shall see. So yeah, like I said, I think next week we should do a look back at January of 2019 and January 2020. All the stats will be published then, so we'll just jump into that on the next show. With that said, for the rest of the show, we're going to do our coming soon listings. We're going to do our word of the week, which is subsidy. And then our main content is core factors in prepping for spring market. So I'm pretty excited to get into that. So stay tuned. We're going to just jump right in now into our coming soon. So last week, I believe it was 32, 33, 30-ish coming soon listings. So this week, we went up by 2, if that's the case. Let me make sure my views are right, but I think we've got some really interesting ones I'm going to point out. We'll go through them pretty quickly because nobody wants to stare at 30 different listings, but let's just check them out and see what we got. So here we go. 50 Citizens, Unit 504, $695 for this unit. This is a phenomenal unit in the heart of Frederick. So that's going to be pretty exciting right in downtown. Stay tuned for that. We've got a awesome townhouse at 220. This one looks like it's had some love. So that's good. New one in Newmarket. I had to check myself. That's in Summerfield. We've got one in Stort Mechanic coming on. This is actually very, very close to one of my listings right now. It is getting ready to close on February. So that's a competitive price, guys. $250. That's definitely good. Another one in Newmarket. Walkersville has one. We've got one in Willowbrook coming on. This one's on East Main in Thurmont, so that is very cute. And then an end unit townhouse, $369. Oh, look at those finishes. That's beautiful. And that one's in Holly Ridge. And we got another one in Willow Bend. See, I love this stellar coming soon photo there. And we've got one in Brunswick. That's a pretty decent price at $250. Brunswick, to be determined. And then we've got one at Tuscarora Creek. I think we have two actually back to back right here. Love this outdoor space. I love to maximize the space. And then of course we've got this awesome one that's coming soon in Woodsboro. I actually sent this one over to my mom because I'm trying to keep her somewhat close as they talk about listing soon. So I had to send her this one. I thought it was really cool. So it's listed at $330 on 2.5 acres, guys. And then they'll be putting up professional pics, but the staging looks really, really good. So this is one that you may want to refer back to in pre-listing. We've got one on Bloomfield that's coming in Frederick. Schaefer's Mill, that one's in Urbana. And then we've got one in Clover Hill, Pembroke, which is Tulip Hill, lots of hills. We must be off the Blue Ridge Mountain. Here's one that's Villages of Urbana as well. That's a pretty stellar price, $293. It's a 2-bedroom, but for Villages of Urbana, that's a pretty good one. It looks like it says instead of a 3rd bedroom, it looks like it could be a den. So there's some options there. This one is super cool, Rocky Ridge. Look, it is an old barn that they have converted into a home. So maybe I can try and link the link to check out more of those pictures. And it's on, we're just gonna call it almost 7 acres. And then another one on Drexel and Newmarket. So cute, look at that, please buy our house. That's Beach Court in Newmarket. Chelsea Circle, we talked about that one last week. Black Hawk Court, Fox Chase. That one's another Urbana one. Collinsworth and Stonebridge. Wyndham Court in Frederick. That one's beautiful. Stonefront, great neighborhood in Clover Ridge. I have a listing under contract in Clover Ridge right now. It's a great neighborhood. Notting Hill. That's another Urbana property. That is beautiful. Love the brick. Box Elder, we talked about that one last week with Liberty Road. And then there's a few others that were on our list last week that have yet to turn into the active situation. So we'll just keep our eyes on there, and I'll just keep updating you with a little coming soon, because those, again, are listings that the consumer isn't seeing on Zillow, Realtor.com, or Trulia, or any of those consumer websites. So those are only listings that are in the MLS that we as agents have access to, that we can send from agent to agent or to our clients. So if somebody called me up and said, hey, let me check out that barn listing, I can send that to you, but you won't be able to see it on Zillow until it goes active. So yeah, 34 coming soon listings. It would be nice to see that step up a little bit too as we try and prep for more inventory. We need some more merchandise to sell. Hopefully I'll get to the point where I won't keep saying that and we'll be content with what's on the market. All right, let's jump into the real estate word of the week. Hopefully you guys can still hear me okay. I'm looking all right. Everybody's good. Everybody's still with me. So the real estate word of the week is a great one. It is the word subsidy. Let's go ahead and pull up the good old Webster's dictionary version of the definition of subsidy. So it's a sum of money granted by government or public body to assist an industry or business so that the price of commodity or service may remain low or competitive. Keyword competitive. A credit, this is kind of more like in Rachel's terms, it's a credit, monetary amount given, quote unquote given, to a party, or AKA concessions or an allowance. So we see the word subsidy a lot in our contracts, or seller credit, or closing cost help. It's all kind of the same thing. What it typically is a buyer, 9 times out of 10, when we're talking about subsidy or a seller credit, it's a credit that the seller is providing towards their closing costs. Now, there's 2 different ways that you can look at that. Typically, it's first when you negotiate the price point and you're in negotiations for the contract on the property. 9 times out of 10, I'm seeing it's customary in Maryland, and we'll get some stats too on that as to the amount of how many people ask for a subsidy. It's customary to ask for it. I pretty much advise all of my buyer clients, unless there's an outside circumstance that we've taken into consideration and discussed, Obviously, each situation is different, but typically I advise my clients to ask for closing cost help, subsidy, credits, all sort of the same thing. Now, bearing in mind when you're asking for a credit or a subsidy, that's taking off the seller's bottom line. So it's just a different way to add it in the negotiations of a contract, so to say. There are some buyers that really need closing cost credit, and the fact that this is available helps leverage buyers to buy homes that ordinarily they may not be able to do without it. In fact, I've had plenty of buyers that have utilized between specific loan programs and getting closing cost help or seller subsidy, they've been able to buy their dream home just based on those factors alone. So it's something that I typically tell them to ask for. It alleviates the cash out of pocket that you would need to bring to the table or part of your closing cost. So that is good too, right? Because you don't just have your down payment, you also have closing costs, which are the costs associated with purchasing real estate. I usually tell my clients it's the same thing as if you were to go into Kohl's and buy a shirt. You're still expected to pay fees on that, taxes typically, right? So it's the same thing when you borrow money. It costs to borrow money. They don't just say, here's your loan and we're going to make our money off of the interest. There's always 9 times out of 10 fees that are associated with borrowing money and the cost to close the transaction, which is going to be your title fees and everything that pertains to the paperwork with the title research, your title insurance, your lender's insurance. So there's other fees that are in there, which I kind of want to save that information for a later show to not overwhelm you. But asking for a credit from the seller, that can help alleviate those costs that you would have to come up with out of pocket, or you factoring them into your loan if available, and then you're paying on a 30-year amortization on those fees. Whereas if you go to the seller and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to come in with a strong offer. We're going to be at list or close to list, especially in spring market. But hey, we're going to do the customary ask of, can we have 3% closing costs or 2.5? I'm seeing 2.5, 3, 3.5. Depending on your loan product, there can be a cap. So subsidy, that's what that is. Let's take another quick look back at that. So again, a credit, a monetary amount that's given or credited towards a party, aka concessions or an allowance. Now I say party because I've also seen other credits be pushed in other areas too, not just towards buyers, but sellers and other third parties. So just bear with me. And if you have questions on that, I can answer that in a separate time. The second time that you might see a subsidy or a credit throughout the transaction is going to be through renegotiations on inspections, typically, or an appraisal or something along those lines. There's always a way that there could be a change somehow for a subsidy. So again, you can be capped, but let's say you go through inspections and you know what, you say, I want these 5 items addressed. I would like the seller to fix these 5 items. These are important to me. Well, the seller may be out of state or may not be able to handle it or may not know a contractor or something of that nature. And it might be easier in the path of least resistance to just say, hey, you know what? Here's a credit for these repairs. We talked with the contractor. We've done our estimates. Here's $1,000. Will that suffice? Pretty much to close out negotiations through inspections. And at that point, the buyer can say yay or nay and move forward from there. So that is the second time that you might see a seller credit come into play most commonly. There are other ways, okay, disclaimer. However, 9 times out of 10, you're most likely going to see a seller subsidy or a seller credit come into play on the original negotiations of the contract, and then secondly, through inspections. So that's something to keep in mind. And then, if something were to go awry with the appraisal, there's ways to do credits take away. I have seen it where I've gotten my clients too much credit and they didn't know what to do with it. They were covered with their closing costs, and then we got to get creative. We don't just want to give away money that was given to us. So how do we get creative? So some ways that I've seen it done is you can pay. I've seen it where at the table, at settlement, the title company, instead of giving back that credit, can pay off a debt, whether it be a credit card or something of that nature, or also home warranties. So I've seen that as well. If you were given too much credit that you just don't have enough fees to put that credit towards, you can say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and up that year and make it 2 years for home warranty, or I'm going to up the coverage or something of that nature. So there's some creative ways through working with your realtor and the lender and the title company to figure out the best way to spend that credit. So there's that too. All right, so our next one, let's keep going, is going to be our main contents. I'm going to try and keep it short because I know the last one with Jeremy was like super long and we didn't even realize we were talking that long. And then all of a sudden we were like, oh, it's like 48 minutes. Nobody's watching. All right, so I'm going to just jump right into it quick. I think I've said that 8 times at this point. We're going to go over the 10 top items that I think are important to prep for primarily spring market to be bad ASS right out of the gate, right? You just want to boom out of the gate, be the best from the start, put yourself in the best position, because within the first week or two, you're going to know where you stand as a seller, you know, and then from a buyer standpoint, these are also things that you want to go through as a checklist and say, you know what, did they do this? Did they do this? And just make sure that that property is in the best presentable position from a buyer. You know, there aren't any corners being cut or Band-Aids, so to say, that are being put on, you know, just a quick paint job and then that's it. I think that there's some more involvement in prepping for spring market as well from a seller standpoint. So the first and foremost is to prep for your future plans. Guys, this has nothing to do with your house getting ready. It has to do with you. Where are you emotionally? Where are you going to be physically after you sell, and financially? First and foremost is consult who you need to consult when it comes to your next step, so that when you do get a contract on that house, you're not deer in the headlights, not knowing what to do moving forward, and you can execute a contract comfortably without second guessing. So make plans, right? So sit down and go over it and make plans and say, all right, you know what, when we sell this house, this is what we're going to do. This is what we expect financially. This is where we are emotionally. Sometimes you need a good month to process, hey, you know what, I'm getting ready to sell my house. Let me brace myself for this, right? Let me just prep for it. So I would say that that's the first and foremost. It's not going to be paint. It's not going to be curb appeal. It's going to be prepping for yourself emotionally, financially, and physically. What's your next step? Think ahead, okay? I'm going to give you a quick little shot of my 10 so you see what's coming. So number 1 is going to be first and foremost to prep for future plans. You like how I made that pink? I had to keep it with the scheme of this studio/office and spring. The second one is going to be consult a professional. That's usually going to be a realtor, or a realtor. Or to do the best homework that you can do, consult more than one realtors. Call somebody, ask for a referral. Consult a few different professionals to make sure that you're going to be optimal when you do decide to list, and you're, again, going to be boom right out of the gate. You also want to make sure that the professionals that you are contacting are using third-party professionals, people with experience, people with integrity, people that know exactly what it's going to take to get the job done appropriately, correctly, and strong, right? So you want to make sure that whomever you do decide to use or whomever you speak with has third-party connections that are professionals as well and can support you and whatever agent you choose throughout the transaction, that you're not going to be left high and dry if you need to talk to a lender at midnight, if you need to talk to title. Kimmy knows that I've called her 10, 11 o'clock at night asking questions. You know, we are living in a world of instant gratification, so we want to make sure that everybody is on par and playing along for that. So there we are. Consult a professional. You like how I put realtor that uses professionals. The third one is going to be visualize. So this is going to be another, you know, these first 3 are actually 4, is going to be more mental and prepping from behind the scenes. Visualize your home as a property for what buyers you're going to be marketing to. So think about what buyers you're going to be marketing to, right? Are we going to be marketing primarily towards first-time home buyers, to move up families? Are we on a golf course community, or are we a historic home? Whatever your property offers, think about who's going to be buying it. You don't want to be appealing to first-time home buyers if you're in a 55-plus community. You know, you got to think about what potential buyers are out there in order to market appropriately and directly towards them, right? We got to pull them in, and then we got to retain them. So with that said, start thinking about it. You know, you got to remove the emotion, which is really hard to do. And in fact, I'm going to experience that myself here soon as I get ready to list my parents' house, the home I grew up in. So I'm right there with you all in the trenches. But visualize it from a non-emotional standpoint and rethink it as a business transaction, because ultimately that is what it's going to be. Yes, we are providing a service to people as realtors, but we also have to think of it that there's people behind the scenes and that it's a business transaction. So molding the two together is what we do, but you guys also have to be right there with us when you list to understand, yes, it's emotional, but you also have to remember that it's business. That can be a little cold sometimes, but you just have to think of what's necessary to obtain that end goal and follow those steps as a process to get there. And it can be hard sometimes, you know, because especially if it's your home, you've raised your family there, your kids have been there, so there's some emotion. But that would be my next. That's going to be my big number 3, to visualize your home as a property or home for your marketed buyers. Remove the emotion and rethink it as a business transaction and what's necessary to obtain that goal. Think model home, right? So you want to make your house look the best that it can as a model home feature, so to say. And so with that, I'm going to say, you know, remove anything that tells, well, that's probably going to fall more under 5, but we'll jump down to that. So number 4 is going to be do an assessment, right? So let me just show you some insight of what I'm looking at for number 4. So do an assessment of your mechanicals, big ticket items that could come up in negotiations or inspections. So it's not really just about the lipstick and the mascara. And all my clients know this is what I use. It's not about the lipstick, the mascara, and the blush, okay? Paint, lighting, that's kind of what I really refer to makeup a lot with houses. It's more about the bone structure and, you know, eyebrows, your hair, what the big ticket items are. Your HVAC, your roof, are there any structural issues that need to be addressed? Your deck, anything major that are big ticket items that could end up costing you either thousands more during a transaction or could kill the transaction altogether. It's wise to start processing that now and figure out the best way to address any issues that may arise or address them prior, come up with a game plan prior to even listing. So check the age of your mechanicals, your HVAC, your hot water heater, your boiler system, your baseboards, whatever it is, your roof, anything that's going to cost you or a buyer a lot of money. Let's get those big ticket items under check first, so that way you're not blindsided throughout a transaction. Next one's going to be the famous declutter. So we've got decluttering. Less is more. That is so true. Remove your personal items, pictures. I put items twice, but that's fine. Just remove them. Anything that tells your story. Anything that tells your story. And, you know, that can be a little bit painful sometimes, but buyers want to walk through a home and they're going to notice, oh, look how beautiful it is. And then the next thing they're going to start to notice is your story, when really what they want to see and visualize is their story. They want to be able to see their furniture in the family room, their pictures on the wall, their mementos on the shelves, their paint color, so to say. That's our next topic, has to be neutral. So they don't want to be distracted with personal taste, if that makes sense. Even if it's beautiful, personal taste. They want to be able to envision themselves living in that house. And in order to do so, they need to be able to see a blank slate or a blank palette, a blank canvas, without a lot of distractions from what your current stuff is. So, you know, 1 or 2 things here and there, that's fine, makes sense. But ideally, bear in mind that that's going to be really important for buyers, is visualizing their own items in your home. You know, it's a little bit weird. So our next one, of course, is going to be paint. Plain and simple, fresh coat of paint. That's like the lipstick, right? Or the foundation that's going to cover stuff. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about. Earth tones, basic, light grays. I think the color of the year, it was last year or one of the years, very recent, we've done it on a lot of our projects, is Revere Pewter. That's a Benjamin Moore paint. And even a little bit lighter, I'm seeing more and more, and we're going to have a stager on too, so that will provide insight. I'm seeing more and more white shades, just not plain white, but blank palette shades. So an interior designer type shade. So that's something, we could probably even link some stuff to that too to give you some insight. But anyways, fresh coat of paint, that is going to be very optimal as much as you can. You know, it's going to change the tune. It's going to bring everything down to an even level and make it, again, a clean palette. And then the next one, so you'll see that we just did 6, paint. The next one, number 7, is have a pre-inspection, or A contractor walkthrough to fix items and be ahead of the game. Minimize your risk during inspection contingency. And that also is a pretty good thing to help with marketing. So if you're marketing your house, in fact, I'm getting ready to do one that's coming up where we're going to say, hey, look, we've already gone through inspections. Every item that we thought was of concern that a potential buyer may not want to deal with, we've gone ahead, we've addressed it. Here's the report. Boom. Here's the list of all the things that a licensed contractor has already handled. So you're ahead of the game and you're pretty much giving them no room for error, right? They're still probably going to do their inspections, but at least then that way you have some type of documentation to combat any of the arguments that may come up through their personal inspection, right? And you're fixing stuff already. So that's good. Another thing that you can also do, which I didn't put on here, which I think will be a topic when we do have an appraiser on, is you can do a pre-appraisal. Typically, I would suggest that for properties that there isn't a lot of comps to go off of, if it's unique, if there's not a lot that's selling in that specific territory. But if you're in a neighborhood where there's some things that are selling around you and there's some movement, again, your professional is going to tell you, your realtor is going to tell you this. I don't think that that's 100% necessary unless you're having a little head fight over list price with your realtor. But typically I would hold off on inspections. That's, $500 right there. I would rather you see that $500 go towards an inspection, not appraisal. I would rather you do an inspection. So do a pre-inspection, right? And then have a contractor in. The next one is going to be evaluate your furniture. If you are, and I've got some pictures to compare, but you want to be age appropriate with your house, right? It's hard if you've got a lot of antiques in a more modern home. So that is also going to come into staging territory, and we'll ask that question when we have a stager on. But just, you want it to flow, the whole property, inside and out. So you want there to be a consistent flow. And sometimes furniture that isn't period appropriate can be distracting. Or if there's too much of it, that can be a huge distraction. Again, that's going to correlate back to that last bulletin that I had, which would be what, number 5, I think, as to less is more, right? Less is more. It's just plain and simple, less is more all the way around. You don't want it to be barren sometimes, right? You do want a little bit of something, something, but just kind of evaluate it. And again, engage with your professional on what furniture you do have. Because I have seen some feedback that isn't fabulous on a house that's stunning, but yet it's distracting to have furniture that doesn't correlate with that age of home. So here we are. Evaluate your furniture. Staging, setup, old furniture, antiques, yay or nay. That's something that you want to ask. Number 9, we are almost there, guys, is change items. And this is a cool one. Change items like hardware, light fixtures, add trim, small details to tie it together. I didn't do my vocabulary correct there. To make sure that your home is clean and presentable, right? So little details, little pops is what I like to call it. Trim work. So I've got some before and after pictures too. I'm going to show you if you stick around. Trim work is a big game changer. It's like the mascara to the house. It's the mascara. It's the eyeliner. It finishes that full face product. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about. So it makes a difference between having gold brass 1990s fixtures in a beautiful home, right? But if you walk in and you see that builder grade, I hate saying that because I'm married to a builder, but if you see that builder grade lighting fixture hanging down that's brass or gold, we're in 2020. Buyers watch HGTV. They hook it up like it's an IV, right? So there's that visual, that expectation. We're going to need some up-to-date stuff. We're going to need some 2020 schemes going on, and lighting fixtures is a cost-effective way to change and again, add that mascara to a house without being overly expensive. Right now we're looking at black. Black hardware is a big deal. Silver, chrome is always good. A certain type of gold, like a matte gold, is coming back in. So, you can go to any design website, house.com, hgtv.com, and get some inkling. But again, that's something that you're going to want to consult with your professional about. We're actually getting ready to do one for a lovely client of mine where my husband, who's the contractor, is going to go in and we're going to do a facelift. We're going to do a little bit of Botox, a little bit of filler to this house. and then we're going to put it back on the market. But one of the things that we are doing is we're going to change all the hardware. So that's all the handles, the front door, all the interior doors. We're going to change them from, it's like, again, that 1990s gold to black, right? And with the swirl. And again, that can be appropriate for some houses, but you have to think about buyers, right? It may look good, you live in there, but you got to think about the buyers. So that's what we're going to be doing. But again, lighting fixtures, trim work, adding crown molding works wonders. Simple crown molding, a ceiling detail, chair rail, making sure that your moldings are clean and freshly painted, a clean, crisp white, is gonna just, again, it's gonna pop. You're looking for that pop that ties it all together, and it's the refined details that really do make a difference. So let's just go right to number 10 at this point. I'm afraid I'm rambling on a little bit. Let me check my time. Yeah, I'm already half hour in. All right, so number 10, curb appeal. Again, less is more. Clean, groom shrubs, and edge the mulch beds. Black or brown mulch. Guys, please don't do red mulch. Please don't do red mulch. I know you love it. Please don't do red mulch. The masses have spoken. We would prefer to see black or brown. Actually, I had a really cool client, you know who you are, that did the rubber, the black rubber, and that was stellar. In fact, I think I'm going to try that this year. I tried to do it last year, but they were sold out. But let's go back. So again, black or brown mulch, pressure wash any algae that might be on the side of your house. Check the deck, pressure wash that bad boy. Your lighting fixtures that are on the exterior too, check those out. Make sure they're flowing with the interior. Make sure your walkways are in good repair, because that could come up during inspections if you have like loose stone or anything that's happening in your walkways, to make sure those are solid. And then also make sure that your grass is as green as it can get. Limit your yard fixtures and plants, and I would just say potted plants for the win right now. You know, less is more. If you've got a clean landscape, edged mulch beds, and then you've got some really pretty potted plants with some flowers blooming again as we get into spring market, that's probably going to be your best bet. That's going to be optimal, again, because then buyers realize, oh, it's so pretty, but if it's not their taste, it's removable, right? So yeah, I would say that those are going to be some pretty core factors for prepping for spring market, which for the most part, I feel like is already here. So I just think that these are also good things anytime you list your home, right? Anytime you list your home, these are some core factors that I think you should go through and make your top 10. I think that they're important, and I think that's what you need to do to get it done. So with that said, let's go ahead. We did our word of the week. We did our core. Now we're going to do some before and after photos. So this is always fun. So this is just going to kind of follow up with what I was talking about on our core factors. These are some that I actually pulled off of the MLS briefly here. For some reason, it's not doing what I wanted to do. Probably because I didn't save it the right way, but hey, let's check it out anyways. So look at this guy, right? This is actually a new construction house down in Montgomery County. After my heart, looks like an old home. So you see how it's modern, clean, crisp, white, the black windows, that's the new thing. Love it. But then you're also seeing that the decor inside is flowing as well. Now, this obviously was professionally done, and not everybody can do the staging and all that fun stuff. But this is just a guideline as to, hey, you know, do you think that furniture from the 70s, well, actually now that's starting to come back, but time period appropriate furniture is important. You don't want stuff that's not age appropriate with the house too. Again, it's all about that flow. So just keep that in mind. Let's see the next one. I know everybody's gonna love this. So this is some farmhouse decor. There we go. Look at that. I think my heart flutters every time I pull these pictures up because I just love some of this decor. It's very, very cool. So look, guys, I mean, this is stuff that you would find in a modern farmhouse. Finding some of these materials and some of this decor, God, I love that chandelier, outside of houses that are modern farmhouse appropriate might look a little odd. The other thing I want to point out is that it's all flowing well together. So all the pieces are meshing well together. You don't have random modern furniture in one room, you know, and then the next theme in the other room is farmhouse, and then the next theme in the other room is dinosaurs. Like, keep a consistent flow. Again, we're thinking like a painting. We want a clean palette for buyers to visualize their stuff and work off of. So a little insight will help with staging and furniture, but you don't want to go overboard and mix it up and not flow appropriately. Now this property I love. I have actually showed this property before. My clients ended up with another. This is a wedding venue out in actually Washington County. So as you can see, all of the content, gosh, it just gets me every time. All of the content inside, all of the furniture is all age appropriate. It is something that you would find in a home that was built in the late 1700s, early 1800s, and it's just model appropriate, age appropriate. I also want to point out some of that trim detail. See what just a little bit of trim detail can do on a ceiling. It gives that extra pop, that extra oomph. That, you know, a lot of other houses don't have, so you can be ahead of the competition by having a little bit more jazz. Now the next one I will give you an example is going to be before and after kitchen. You may or may not know this kitchen, you guys, some of my viewers. Take a look. So before and after, this is actually a project that we did, my husband's company, Home Innovations. So this is a before picture. That classic 90s green. I love you, but we're in 2020 now. Even now, some of this is like, all right, I might need to do another little update. So again, simple ceiling detail, simple lighting fixture change. And you can see it's the same furniture. You know, you don't have to go all out. I'm just telling you your best options. But look at the difference. I mean, you can even see at the bottom left, it's the same shutters, same curtains as the new, but yet just a little bit of paint and ceiling detail, it's the extra mile. It just makes a world of difference. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind. Not everybody can be like, hey, let's go trim out the whole house. But if you have the opportunity to do small things like that, I think it's going to make a difference. All right, we got to wrap it up because I am rambling. Our fun fact. All right, so what I decided to do for our fun fact, which I might need to come up with another name for that, our fun listing, I decided to do, trying not to use inappropriate language, a really cool garage, right? And this is from a listing that's actually here in Mount Airy. So I wanted to show you two pictures from the coolest garage that's on the market right now, okay? And you guys, some of you might even know what this is. Ready? Here we go. Look at that garage, guys. That's a whole race trailer that they've got in there. Look at that setup. Look at the drainage. Look at the flooring. Look at that. That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Yeah. So that is active on the market. That's a property here in Mount Airy. I believe it's listed at 1.9. As you can imagine what the rest of the property looks like. I've actually been in that garage before, believe it or not, many moons ago. And then let me show you what listing it is. Pardon my screen. Seeing a little behind the scenes. All right, so this is 13156 Old Annapolis. Oh, I was close. 1.929. And this is just a phenomenal listing. I mean, look at that. I'm pretty sure it's a heated driveway too, placed on 25 acres. So there you go, right on Old Annapolis Road. It's out there by Ligonor High School. Gorgeous property. You guys can look at me as I change to the next picture. And then here's another view of the garage. Awesome. Awesome. Sometimes I'm like, is it the garage that's really cool or what's inside the garage? You know, so that's just pretty cool. I mean, you got lifts and everything else that are there. So that's our fun fact listing. If you guys have any suggestions or tips as to what you'd like to see, I am happy to share that as well. Gift card. Who won the gift card for like, commenting, and sharing? From what I could tell, you guys, you got to do all three. Maybe we'll do one where you just like write a comment. How about for this next one? For this next gift card, we'll do another $25. We'll do a $25 Visa. I don't have it on me. I just sent my husband to actually go get it. So for this next one, just comment what your favorite style house is. If you can comment what your favorite style house is, then we'll do a random drawing to give you guys a gift card. So for the winner this week, or for last week, for the $25 Target gift card, it's going to be Nicole McBride because she liked and she commented and she shared, right? So that's who it's going to be. Nicole, I know where to send it. So boom, congratulations. Now for the next one, hopefully you guys can comment with what your favorite style house is. I think that would be pretty cool. And I still have to do my opinion on old versus new construction, but I think I might just do a show on that. Or maybe I'll save that for when the inspector's on. We're going to gear for the next show to have an inspector. I got to talk with Craig and see what his thoughts are on me doing it from the studio, because we need to make sure we're set up with lighting and everything. But give me your feedback, guys. If there's something that you want to hear about in real estate, we're doing a show every week. We would love for your engagement. Like, comment, share, get us going. My time is up. So yeah, thanks for tuning in and catch me next week. All right, bye guys.